Nina Poersch competed on the 30th season of Worlds Apart, where she finished in 16th place. Struggling from the beginning on the no-collar tribe, Nina found herself a target early on and was the second no-collar player voted out of the game. I spoke to Nina about how Natalie Tenorelli helped her get on Survivor, what really happened behind the scenes with Joe and Jen, as well as which player on her season she really wished she could have worked with, and why her family was so shocked with how she played the game. Nina, welcome to Survivor Oz.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
How are you this morning?
I am fine and excited and pumped. It's a great time to be a Survivor fan. We've just had a new season. I'm doing interviews. What can't I love about being a Survivor host right now, Nina? How about yourself? How are you today?
I'm doing great, actually. It's been a few months since my season ended, and now we're into a new season, so I'm pretty pumped to watch this new season that's airing now. But otherwise, yeah, I'm doing great. Life is grand. Can be any better.
That's good to hear. And I guess we had Tyler on earlier today, and he was mentioning about how right now it's a little strange coming into this new season, having no attention on you anymore, I guess, and having to see sort of new people play this game. I mean, how are you finding adapting to watching a new season and no longer the focus being on you anymore?
Well, someone actually asked me that the other day, and I said, watching the new season, which I did actually watch the premiere with Tyler on Wednesday night, but watching the new season was kind of like my chapter closing. Like that was the, kind of like the end of my chapter as far as Survivor went. But, even though a new season is airing, I don't know, I guess it's kind of still continues. I mean, I'm once a survivor, always a survivor, and you're part of the family and all of that. But now I feel like I'm now considered a past survivor.
Yes.
So now my season is past. It's the old season. Now we're on to the new, and I'm always excited for new things, so I'm excited for this new season.
Were you much of a fan, Nina, going on the show? I mean, did you apply? Were you recruited? I mean, how did your Survivor journey start?
Well, I did not apply, but I wouldn't really say I was recruited. In a way, I guess I was, but Natalie Tenorelli, and I share the same hairstylist, and she was helping Benry look for people to do the show. And she asked my hairstylist if she knew anybody, and my hairstylist was like, oh my gosh, ask my client Nina, and told Natalie a little bit about me. And then Natalie contacted me and, forwarded my name along, and, it got to casting, and then casting called me, and it kind of just took off from there. It took a couple of years after Natalie actually contacted me until I was sitting in final interviews.
Wow, that's fascinating. I had never heard a story like that before. So had you kind of known that Natalie was... I mean, had you met Natalie before that connection? Did you know she was on Survivor?
Yes. Actually, since we share the same hairdresser, we live close to each other, and she actually went to the same high school as my youngest son. But I did not personally know Natalie, and actually did not physically meet her until at my season after party.
Wow.
But I knew her, and when my hairdresser, when her season cast got announced, my hairdresser said, one of my clients is on Survivor, and I'm like, what? So, I knew at that point we both went to the same hairdresser. Our paths just never crossed.
Wow, that's fascinating. So had you sort of watched much of Survivor before that? Were you a fan? Had you seen any of it before?
Yes, I was a huge fan. I watched from the very first season. I didn't see the first episode, but I need to go back and watch that because I've never seen the first episode. It just happened on the second episode. I was kind of channel surfing, and that popped up on the TV. I'm like, hey, what is this about? And, of course, I got sucked in, and I actually just moved to California about 12 years ago. So before I moved out here, I had a group of friends back in St. Louis, and we had Survivor parties every Wednesday, to watch the episodes, and we would do different things like, bring food, and it would have to be like bean related or rice related or, just something like that was kind of related to the theme, whether we dressed that way or something like that. So, yeah, I was a huge fan. I'm not sure that I would call myself a super fan, but I was still am a very big fan.
Fantastic. So I guess when you get cast and sort of everything is moving on and you're about to go out there and play, Nina, I mean, being a fan, do you kind of look back at someone like Christie Smith, obviously, who went into her season, in a similar position to you, kind of with hearing difficulties, and do you look for that sort of thing as inspiration? Is there any sort of thought process going involved with her at all?
Well, I did go back and watch a little bit of how Christie played, and her and I mean, we're both deaf. However, I had cochlear implants, so I can hear. I hear actually pretty good, but I do struggle more than, say, a normal hearing person. And, Christie was much younger when she played her season than I was when I played my season, so I kind of felt like I had two targets on my back. I was older, and also I had, a hearing impairment. So going into the game, I probably overthought a lot of things because I didn't want that target on my back. And, in my everyday life, I'm a mom. So, moms can be kind of bossy and, wanting to tell people what to do. This is the best way to do it because, I was 51, I had 51 years worth of life experiences, and also with all my previous jobs that I did, I've always been the boss. I've always made the rules. I've always, I've hired and fired people and given raises and given reviews and all that kind of stuff. So I am a really bossy person, and I didn't want to go into the game playing that way because I was afraid that would put a target on my back. And looking back at it, I kind of wish I would have been a lot more aggressive. When my husband and I watched me on TV, I mean, that was the first thing he said. He was like, wait, what happened to you? That is totally not you. Because I am bossy. I'm very manipulative. I mean, my kids will tell you, and they told me all growing up, oh, Mom, you're just saying that to me because you want me to do it this way or you want me to do it that way or whatever. And, I've been in sales for so many years that it's just, the way I am, being able to talk people into buying something from me that they didn't even need. So, I tried to do the under-the-radar thing, and it really just didn't work out. I just wish I would have been more aggressive then. Everyone could have seen exactly how I am, and I really do know how to play the game, but I just didn't go in there aggressive enough, I guess. What
then was your take on the whole white collar, blue collar, no collar, and the fact then that you're a no collar? I guess kind of what you were just saying, it sounds like you very much could have been on, say, white collar, for example.
Right. The whole theme, it's an okay theme. There's nothing wrong with the theme itself. I just think that some of the people were misplaced within that theme. I think on the no-collar tribe, it was a pretty good fit for most people except me. I think that everybody on that tribe is probably a lot no-collar. I think Haley might have probably had a little bit more of a white-collar personality in the sense of that, she is going to school to be a lawyer and all that, so I'm sure her mindset is a little bit different, but also her personality was a lot, she was much more free-spirited. And I'm not saying that I'm not. I mean, I am a fly-by-the-seat-of-your-pants kind of girl myself. But, my core being is structure. I'm a very structured person. And I could have very easily gotten along with all of them. It's just that I felt, and they made me feel like they were not accepting of me. And, on that first day that we landed on the beach, Joe even pulled me aside, and he asked me if I could do the challenges. He's like, Nina, are you going to be able to do these challenges? I mean, I think those were his exact words. And I said, well, yeah, Joe, why? And he's like, well, because you can't hear. And I don't think he really, I know he's been around deaf people, but has he been around people with cochlear implants? I mean, we hear. We just maybe don't hear as well. And right then and there, I knew that, okay, well, I'm in trouble now because this kid thinks I can't do challenges, and I only had 8 days out there. I wasn't ever able to overcome and convince him. And even after we came home, I called him within that first week of being home and asked him if there was anything I could have said or done different out there for him to change his mind about me. And he said no. He had his mind made up that first day, and there was nothing I could do to change his mind at all. So, sometimes you get stuck with people like that don't try to give you a chance to show what you can do. And I just did a charity event with Bob Crowley's charity event called Durham Warrior Survival Challenge. And we did like 7 or 8 challenges a day. And I did great. I rocked those challenges. We had a maze challenge. I had my tribe mates yelling out to me, go left, go right. I could hear them perfectly fine. We did water challenges. So I really felt that he thought I was not physically capable of doing challenges. So that really bummed me out a lot.
Was that then later on, jumping ahead a little bit, we saw the challenge where he basically told you not to do anything? Was that a case of that coming back in that challenge from that very first day where he's asking you, Nina, can you do challenges?
Joe had this idea that he wanted me to run ahead, and they would carry the bucket, and it would be heavy because it would be full of water, and that I would be already on the other side of that, like, sawhorse-looking thing, and I could help them lift it over. That's what he said when we were out there. And I thought, when he first presented that, I thought, okay, well, maybe that'll work, if everyone can keep the water in the bucket. And then when they got to me and I looked in the bucket and there was like no water, I'm like, okay, well, this is not working, obviously. And the whole time I just tried to convince them, here, let me stay back and help plug holes. I got 10 fingers. Let me stay back and help you plug holes. And him and Jen were both like, no, just go, just go. They were waving me off. And, you don't see a lot of it on TV, but I was super frustrated with the point when they were filling the bucket, I would just walk back, jump over my thing, and just wait for them. I was just really disgusted with the whole thing because every time they came, I would look, and, there was no water. I looked to see because it's like, okay, everyone's going to plug holes. Hardly anybody was plugging holes. And when we got back to camp, I was like, Joe, they did finally say, okay, fine, you can help plug holes. But I said, Joe, what was that all about? And that's when he said, well, you know what, Nina, on that first challenge, you tripped on that high step. And I was afraid that you would get all fumbled out there and you would trip all of us. And it's like, oh my gosh, are you serious, Joe? Well, come to find out later, after Kelly was voted out, I was talking to her, and I told her, yeah, Joe was all concerned because I tripped on that high step. And we were talking, and she's like, wait a minute, back up. so you tripped on that high step that first challenge? And I'm like, yeah. She goes, well, so did I, and so did Lindsay. And I'm like, are you serious? And if you watch, anybody that was short tripped on that high step. So, you know, it was just like I was feeling really bad because I thought, well, I did trip on that high step, but I knew I wasn't going to trip anybody up because that third challenge, the little thing that we went through, wasn't even half as high as what the one was on the first challenge. And then when I found out, oh, no, I was not the only one. I think even Will tripped on it a little bit. You know, so I think Joe was just looking for excuses to keep me out of challenges. And the second challenge, the swim challenge, I call it being bullied not to do the challenge. I mean, they pretty much looked at me and said, okay, Nina, you're sitting out. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, you're going to sit out. I'm like, why? I don't want to sit out of this challenge. No, we want you to. I mean, they just kept going on until I finally said, okay, is it going to make you guys feel good if I sit out of this challenge? And they're like, yes. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll sit out of the challenge. And that was decided before we ever got to the challenge. We decided that when we were still back at camp. Because they heard water challenge and they thought, oh, no, Nina can't do this. And I can. I have little sleeves that I put over my speech processor so I can hear when I'm in the water.
Wow, fascinating. It's really interesting to hear that side of it. And I guess looking at it back now and saying before about how you could have easily been on, say, white collar, do you think in the long run you being on white collar would have been a lot better with the people that were out there? Would you have gotten along a lot better with perhaps people on the white collar tribe as opposed to the no collar tribe?
Absolutely. And, you know, thinking about it, because once you play, I think that you think about your game on a daily basis probably for the rest of your life, just because you just can't not think about it. It just pops into your mind every day. And thinking back and thinking, okay, what if I were on white collar? You know, if you look at the tribe, the people are a little older, and they probably had more life experiences with someone like me, maybe not so much someone who's deaf, but, you know, someone with a handicap or a disability. And they're probably a little more mature, and I'm not wanting to say anything bad about my tribe mates. I love them to death, but I just think that, you know, the white-collar tribe had a little bit more maturity and understanding going on, and I think I just would have blended better with them because we would have been more like personalities, you know, wanting that structure, being in an authoritative figure in your home life or your work life, you know, and I think I would have done better. I don't know, you know, I mean, I'll never know if I would have done better, but I just kind of feel like I would have meshed easier with them than I did with my tribe mates that I was with.
On the beach, though, when you did get to your tribe, and we obviously talked a little bit about Joe and Jen and that sort of thing, but you did seem to form some kind of connection with Vince, also Will even. Were those the two that you found easiest to get along with? What was it about Vince and Will that perhaps you connected with?
Well, I'm going to back up just a little bit on that and say that I approached Will, Vince, and Joe about being in an alliance, because before I even went out there, being an older mother, I thought that I would probably work better with the younger guys, you know, the mother-son kind of a thing. And so I approached them and, you know, to get into an alliance with them. But it obviously, Joe had his mind made up, and that didn't pan out. But with Vince and Will and I connected because Will is older, and he has a family, and he had a wife. And so we had some, you know, likes things about us, and we just had things we could talk about, family life and, missing our kids and missing our spouses and that kind of thing. And really, Will is just an overall great guy. He's super nice, very sensitive, just a great guy. And Vince, I saw him in my final interviews, and I, of course, never talked to him or anything because, that's not allowed, but just looking at Vince, I found him interesting. And I'm always for anyone who seems interesting and different than me because I like to learn from other people, per se. And so Vince also is just a super nice guy. I mean, he's just the kind of guy that if you look like you're having a bad day, he will stop everything he's doing and sit down and talk to you until you feel better. I mean, that's just the kind of guy Vince is. So it was just really easy to talk with both of them, and Will and I were a lot alike. Vince and I were kind of opposites, but opposites attract too, and people that are different are just people that you can learn things from. So I learned a lot from Vince also while I was out there.
And he seemed a lot of fun, Nina. I could imagine that hanging around with Vince would have been a unique experience, I guess, to put that nicely.
He is very interesting. I mean, he's been around the world. He's just has lots of stories to tell. Lots of, I don't know, he's philosophical. He's just an interesting kind of guy. I watched Wednesday's episode with him, too. I was shocked to see him there, but I was so excited to see him because I hadn't seen him in a while. But, he's just different. He's kind of an eccentric person. He's different, and he's kind of fun to be around.
Yeah. Definitely. How surprised were you at that first vote to see him voted out?
When Vince got voted out, I was completely shocked. And that's one thing with my hearing is because I do struggle some to hear. I don't always catch everything. And Vince was telling me that I wasn't catching everything that was being said, and he was trying to keep me in the loop that way. Vince and I and Will had hatched a plan to vote Jen out, and it was a great plan, and it really would have worked. But, Will did not trust Vince at all, and I did not know, and I actually just talked to Will the other day about this because him and I had not, we talk about the whole thing, but not about this particular thing. And I told him, I said, you know what, Will, I never knew that you were also talking to the other three. I never knew that because on the second day, Will asked me, I was out collecting firewood, and he's like, hey, Nina, can I talk to you? And I'm like, yeah, I thought, oh, good, we're going to talk gameplay, because that's all I wanted to do when I was out there was talk gameplay. And all he wanted to talk about was my hearing. He asked me a bunch of questions and everything, and I said, hey, Will, can we talk about the game? He's like, oh, yeah, sure. And I'm like, do those three ever talk to you at all? And he's like, no, they never do. I haven't talked to them at all. And I hadn't seen him talking to them at all. So I believed that. But what was going on that I didn't know is that he was talking with them. So he was kind of going between me and Vince and going, with those three. And, he told me, he said, I just didn't trust Vince. He said, if I would have trusted Vince even a little bit, I would have totally voted with you. And I'm like, really? I really wished that I had known more that you were talking to them. I would have been able to try to convince you that they, not to go with them and to go with us. But, I couldn't. And I asked him, I said, when after I watched the episode and what appeared to happen was I threw Vince under the bus, and I said, well, I just don't remember that conversation going like that. And he's like, it really didn't go like that, Nina. I mean, there is a lot with editing. And And I'm like, so what happened? And he's like, you know what, Nina, before we even started talking, I already knew I wasn't going to vote with you. I already knew because Vince had already told me he didn't think I was healthy. So Vince had already told him before I ever told him. So I don't know. It was just, I still to this day can't recall exactly how that conversation went, except that when I watched it, I thought, well, I don't remember the conversation going exactly like that. So I don't know. But
yeah, it's interesting how it all plays out, and trying to work out what happens and all that sort of stuff after all this time. But I guess after the Vince vote, and obviously you are to go home next, is there anything that you feel you could have done from that point to save yourself, or do you really think that you were always going to be the next to go no matter what?
Well, while I was out there was a little bit of time when I did try to tell them that they really needed to get rid of a will, because physically I was more fit to help with them win challenges, and I could tell. I mean, you don't go through life 51 years and not get some kind of gut instinct. And I could just tell by talking to them that there was just no way I was going to even be able to to save myself. I just knew it. And, I knew as soon as Vince was gone, I knew it. That's why when we came back from tribal council, I was just like, can you guys just be nice to me? I mean, literally, they were not talking to me. They might have a passing word to say to me, oh, dinner's ready, or, whatever. But after the first day of everyone going, okay, what's your name? Who are you? Are you married? What do you do? There was never any other conversations with me on, just casual conversation made with me at all. I mean, Joe did a little bit, but I just knew, and I just wanted to be comfortable. It was just like, can we just be nice to Nina right now? And, well, you know how that went. I mean, Jen said her spiel, and it was like, okay, whatever. And the next day, I did try to save myself. There just wasn't, there was no way. And after coming home and Joe telling me, no, there's nothing, I knew I was, and I'm not one to beat a dead horse, so I just kind of gave up at that point.
Was there anything said post-game, or has there been anything with Jen, I guess, to mend what happened out there? I mean, are you and Jen on good terms now, I guess, after the game?
Well, I did not talk to Jen until probably the day before the premiere of our season. And I was talking to Vince, and, he kind of convinced me, well, maybe you should just call and talk to Jen. And I talked to a few other people, and they're like, yeah, it probably would be good just so that, we had a premiere party planned, the whole cast, and just so that it wouldn't feel uncomfortable for anybody, because I think maybe there were some people that felt a little uncomfortable with the Jen and my situation. So I made a phone call and talked to her, and, I placed a lot of judgment on her character based on some of the things that Vince told me that were going on out there. He was constantly, for the 6 days, he was out there telling me that those three did not like me. They mocked me behind my back. They wanted me out. And when I asked them why, they said, it's because of your hearing. They don't want you around anymore. And, so I based my opinion on that. And so I told Jen, I'm sorry I based my opinion of you on what someone else was telling me. I should have probably, gotten to know you prior before I made any kind of judgment calls. So, I mean, Jen and I, we, we're not like best friends or anything like that, but we certainly get along fine.
Great. That's fantastic. Well, you guys, the Dirty 30, you guys are obviously very, very close still to this day. And, it's good to hear that all those connections and everything are at least out there and you are talking. And it's good to hear that side of it.
I still need to find out who came up with that name. I don't even know, but Yeah, we are all really close, and there's certain ones that I talk to more than the others, but it's kind of like one of those kind of families where, you don't always have to talk to each other all the time in order to be close. It's just like you pick up a phone and you talk to one of them, and it's just like you just talked to them yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those unique things our cast has that we're just, we're close, and whenever something happens with one of us, we all know what's going on with everybody. So
good to hear. And as you mentioned, nice get together the other night to watch the new season. I saw the photos on social media, and no doubt good to be able to catch up with everybody to watch Survivor again.
Yes, it was awesome. Let's see, how many were? Well, So was there, Max, Vince, myself, and Tyler. So I guess and Mike. So there were 6 people from my season that were there. And then, from some of the other seasons, like Natalie Tenerelli was there, and Monica and PG, and of course Vitus. It was his party, and Ozzy was there. I've never met Ozzy. I have never met Vitus or Eris, so that was really nice to be able to meet them. It was great. I mean, it's a real nice family camaraderie feeling to see everybody and catch up on hugs and catch up on each other's lives and all that kind of stuff. So it was really nice. How
was the reaction to when Vitus got voted out? How did he react to everybody, no doubt, coming up to him and saying, "I'm sorry, you were the first voted out"?
He's such a good sport. He's such a good guy. I mean, when I got voted out, he reached out to me, and he's just wonderful. And he, even on social media, had posted a couple of nice things about me and made me feel really good. I mean, getting voted out third is not fun either. Not making the jury, not making the merge or anything like that. I mean, he handled it like a gentleman. He's just a great guy, and I was really bummed that they voted him out. I was shocked. I absolutely could not believe they voted him out. That was crazy to vote out a young, strong guy, in your tribe. Why would you do that? I don't know.
What's your take on how Joe will go for the rest of this season, and of course even Shireen, who you didn't get to play with, but obviously she's part of the Dirty 30 family?
I think that both of them, since we just played, so they just played, hopefully it'll kind of be fresh in their minds and they can, learn from the mistakes they made. Obviously they both made the merge on my season and they made the jury, so they got, pretty far, but, hopefully they'll remember some of those small details that got them voted out the first time around and not do that again, so that they can last and make it to the end. So hopefully they will.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that plays out. Now, Nina, we have some listener questions which we'll get to in just a moment, but we always like to get an update on how people are going and sort of what the plans are. So I guess now Survivor's over for you at the moment, but what's the plans now for Nina? What are you up to now in your life at the moment?
Well, I've been actually doing a lot more volunteer work with the cochlear implant people. Actually, the ones that did my cochlear implant, which is Cochlear Americas. So you're probably familiar with them because their big main office is there in Australia. But so I've always been a volunteer with them, but I've done a lot more volunteer work with them now, just because more people are wanting to know about the whole Survivor thing and how I did it out there, and and all that kind of stuff. But my big project I'm working on right now is I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book just on my hearing journey and how I lost my hearing and what life was like after that, and how I got on Survivor, and a little bit about my Survivor experience in regards to my hearing, because I get asked that all the time. Anybody I meet, those are the first two questions were, how did you lose your hearing and how did you get on Survivor? Always. And I figure if everybody I meet is asking me that, there's probably a lot of people out there that I'm not meeting asking me that, also, wanting to know also. So I decided over the summer, I said, you know what, I think I'm just going to write a book and hopefully, make it inspirational enough that it will get people who had any type of disability, whether, it's hearing or, anything, no matter what it might be, help them be inspired and give them strength to go out and, live their dreams, go for their goals and not let, I always say not let life's lemons hold them back, because I always just kind of feel like with losing my hearing, I was tossed a few lemons. And, just hopefully be able to do that. And I've done a few speaking engagements, in regards to my Survivor time and my hearing. So most of my life is kind of based around that. I do a lot of hiking. Actually, I was going to sit down today and fill out the paperwork to hike up Mount Whitney, which is the tallest peak in lower 48 states here.
Right.
And you have to have a permit to do it. So, and I only want to do it in the summertime, so I need to fill out my paperwork so I could do that. So I've been training to hike that.
Fantastic. Wow. Certainly keeping busy then, Nina. That's a good thing.
I try to stay busy.
Yes, indeed. Keep us up to date too with the book, because that definitely sounds like a great project, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners would love to read that. So for sure, we'll keep an eye out for it when it does come out.
Yes, definitely. I'm not even halfway through, so it's a slow work in progress.
Yes. Well, you'll get there, Nina. We have faith in you.
Yes. So. I will get there. It's just there's so much to tell. Mm-hmm. So right now I'm just in the process of writing down everything. Then the next process will be weeding out the stuff that doesn't matter, and then the next process will go through, and I'll have to get an editor to help me edit and make it interesting for people, because sometimes just writing your words down are not always that interesting. So I have a blog also that I started up over the summer, and it's at ninapoersch.com. So I don't blog a whole lot, but I try to do at least one or two a month. So if anybody wants to follow my thoughts, they can look me up at ninapoersch.com.
We'll link it so people can check it out, Nina, when they download this interview. So head there and they can see what you're up to and keep an eye on everything to do with that. Now, we have some listener questions here, and thanks to everybody who sent these in, survivoroz@hotmail.com.au if you do wish to ask questions to our guests. Nina, our first question is from Nick Chester. He works for us here in Survivor Oz. Hello, Nick. And he asks, of all the Worlds Apart cast, who do you wish that you had been on your tribe on day one?
Gosh, it only could be one person. If I had to say, and only pick one person, I'm going to give two answers for this. One, I'm going to give an answer of when I was at pregame and looked around at everybody, who was I wanting to play with at that point was Vince.
Okay.
When I saw him, I'm like, I hope he's on my team, on my tribe. So I was excited by that. After playing the game and everything, if I had to pick somebody, I would pick Tyler.
Any particular reason why?
Because Tyler, there's just something about him. I don't know. I don't know if it was that how how he was kind of quiet out there. And he was hard to read. It could have been that. And I just think that would have just meshed with me really well. I don't know. There was something about how, his calmness or something maybe. I don't know. It was just something with him that I think I would have really liked to have had the opportunity to start the game with him. And technically, I was supposed to. I mean, technically, he was supposed to be on the no-color tribe, so he got bumped. So really, it was kind of like, darn it, I wish he would have been on my tribe, and I could have played with him.
Would have made it very different, Nina. We would have had a very different season, no doubt.
Yeah. Anytime if all 18 of us were all mixed different, we would have definitely, you're going to have a different season because you're going to have all these different personalities with different people, and, it would definitely have been a different season. So.
Yeah, definitely. Dylan K asks, what are your thoughts on Mike as a winner?
My thoughts. Let's see. I think Mike, from watching it at home, he deserved to win. I thought he was a great winner. Mike's a great guy. I can't say anything bad about Mike. He is just an awesome guy. I don't even know why he's not married yet. He's just a really nice guy. As far as, I can only give my opinion on what I saw. I don't know, had I played all the way to the end, if I would have voted for him or not. I don't know, because I wasn't there. And even though we all talk about what happened out there, it's still going to be different than if you actually played the game with everybody on who you wanted to win or who you would have voted for. Who I really wanted to win as I watched was... I really wanted Carolyn to win. And that's probably a selfish reason because, she was the older woman and it's like, okay, girl power, older woman power, yeah. I wanted Carolyn to make it to the end, and I thought she played a great game also.
I agree with you completely. We are huge Carolyn fans on this show, and we had her on about a month or so ago, and we love her to bits. So hello, Carolyn, if you're listening. Shout out to Carolyn. Now, a couple of these questions have already been answered. Marco, thank you. Yours has. Harold, yours has. Here's an interesting one, Nina. Chris says, hi, Nina. I was rooting for you during Worlds Apart. As the second deaf contestant, have you ever made contact with Christie Smith?
I have, actually. Just very brief. I actually, being a big fan, talked to Christie. She actually called to tell me happy birthday because somebody I knew her, and we talked briefly way back, probably in maybe 2009 or something like that. So after the show and the cast was announced and stuff, I reached out to her and we talked. Just through chatting on Messenger, and it was very brief. There's a big gap, I guess you could say, between the deaf community and the community that chose to have cochlear implants. So, she just gave me a little bit of advice and she asked me to learn a little bit of sign language so that when I met deaf fans, I was able to communicate with them a little bit, just some simple things, what's your name, just simple things like that. So I don't keep in touch with her, really, per se, but yeah, we did talk a little bit after the cast was announced.
Great. Thanks for that question there, Nick. Now, the last question, sorry, Chris, that was, not Nick. I don't know why I called you Nick, Chris. Last one here, Nina. Now, this is actually a comment. This isn't a question, and I wanted to save this one to last because it's actually quite a nice comment here. Jack G. Now, Jack says, tell Nina that you are my favourite contestant of all time. And I admire your bravery going out to play a game for $1 million, being deaf and that you are a role model for all deaf people out there. You shouldn't get hate because you are one of the 2 bravest contestants in Survivor history, the other being Christie from the Amazon. So I thought that was a nice little way to end kind of our listener interaction there.
Oh my gosh, that really makes me teary-eyed. That's very sweet. I hope she listens, or he. I couldn't tell what you said the name was, but I hope they're listening because that really melts my heart. I mean, that really makes... I have tears in my eyes right now because that's just the sweetest thing I've ever heard. I mean, part of doing Survivor was hoping, to inspire people, like I said earlier, to inspire people to do things that they want to do and not let things like hearing or disability hold them back. And I tell everybody that, we all have hopes and we all have dreams and we all have goals. And we see those things and we, go and we try to do these things and we have this vision that it's going to turn out great and it's going to be perfect. I mean, I had a vision I was going to win the $1 million. I had the $1 million spent before I even went out there, and it was like I couldn't see any other thing except winning that $1 million. But I tell people that a lot of times when we have these goals and these hopes that they don't always turn out the way we envisioned them to turn out. But that doesn't mean it wasn't a successful, dream. It just means that you need to maybe do it again and tweak it a little bit, and eventually, you'll come out successful. I mean, I would love to play the game again and get further and win the $1 million. But I think that if people don't do what they want to do, that's when failure comes in. You have to do it, and once you do it, you're successful no matter how it turns out.
Great way of looking at that. And Jack, thank you very much for your comment there to Nina. Now, Nina, we close out every interview with a set of 5 Survivor-based questions. These are all completely opinion-based. There's no right or wrong. These are a bit of fun to end the interview. And I'll start by asking you, what are 3 things you learnt about Jeff Probst during your time on Survivor?
What 3 things did I learn about Jeff during my time on Survivor?
Yes.
Oh, wow. How much time do I get to think about this? What did I learn about Jeff? Gosh. Being a longtime fan and reading so much about Jeff, I kind of felt like I already knew him a little bit. I was shocked to hear him use bad language. He cussed some, and I was like, "Oh wow, that's weird to hear him talk like that." What else did I? Oh, this was one thing I kind of learned. I didn't realize he was as short as he was. I always thought he was taller.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And a third thing, huh?
It's a tough question.
It is a tough question. I don't know how to say what I'm thinking in my head. I guess I learned that he is a lot more hyper than I thought he would be.
That's
know
good.
That's
a good way of describing it.
Like he bounced around a lot. Yeah.
He drinks a lot of red cordial. Perhaps he gets a little bit excited. So
yeah, I guess that's it. I don't know.
Hello, Jeff, if you're listening. Get a bit hyperactive out there. Question number 2, Nina. What is your favourite and least favourite season of Survivor?
That's really okay. My favorite season is pretty easy, and that's Borneo, because that was the season that started it all. Mm-hmm. And I'm a huge old school Survivor fan. I've been reading online how people are like, I wish, with the new season, how they keep talking about old school and new school, and some people aren't liking that, and they wish they wouldn't do that, but I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love old school Survivor, so Born Hill would definitely be my favorite season. My least favorite season, that's a really hard one, because I love them all for all their uniqueness, and I'm not a person that walks around saying, oh, this is my least favorite of anything, except maybe some food, but I don't think I can answer that.
That's
I
okay.
loved all the seasons.
That's okay.
Just for their uniqueness. Every season had something. I know a lot of people say, oh, One World was the worst season ever, but I don't know. I mean, a lot of good people came out of One World.
I agree with that. I love One World. That is actually one of my favorite seasons. So I defend that season a lot, Nina.
Yeah. I love them all. I could go through all the seasons and go, nope, love that one. Nope, I like this one because of that. I like this one because of that. I like this one because of that. So it's hard for me to pick one that I like the least.
That's okay. You can plead the fifth. I love that saying. We don't have it. We don't have it in Australia, so I use it as much as I can when I do these episodes. It's a good saying. I like it. Question number 3: who to you is the sexiest ever contestant?
Oh, wow. This is really hard. I'm going to have to go old school again.
Please do. We like old school on this show.
Because, I have to say Ethan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say Ethan is I absolutely loved his personality, and to me, that's sexy.
Mm-hmm. That's a good answer.
So
I like
would
that.
have to pick...
I like that answer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's who I would say. Once I saw Ethan play, it was just like, that was it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually got to meet him when I was in Maine very briefly because I was playing, in that game. So it was very brief. I walked past and it was just like I shook his hand and I didn't even get to talk to him anymore. And I was so depressed about that. I was like, darn it, my all-time, sexy guy, and I didn't get to talk to him. But yeah, I loved his personality, and to me, that's sexy. So
it'll happen again.
I'm going with Ethan.
You'll meet him again one day, yeah. Nina. I feel it. It will happen. There's still time. Don't worry. Question number 4: who to you is the greatest player never to have won?
Oh, gosh. This is really hard because I think there's several, but I'm going to say the person that first came to mind when you asked me that, and that's Rob Cesanero.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep. He gets his popular choice, so it's been a while since he's played, but still gets answered quite a bit. So, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah,
he'll like that.
The first time he played, it was such a bummer, because I knew when he played again, I knew he wasn't going to win because he played... I just thought he played too good the first time, and people would know.
Mm-hmm.
Would know that, and be like, okay, we got to get him out because he played too good and he didn't win, and we're not going to let him win again. So that would be the first person that pops into my head.
Perfect, locked in. Nina? Next question: who is your least favorite winner?
My least favorite winner?
Yes, I'm making them more difficult for you.
Okay. My least favorite winner, I kind of have two, so I don't know which one to go with.
Give us both. Come on, tell us both.
I know if I really say who my least favorite winner is, everybody's going to boo me really bad.
Say it. Say it.
I know. Okay, I'm going to say Sandra.
Oh,
is my least favorite winner.
Oh, I'm hearing those.
And you want to know why? And I know that's the one everyone's going to boo me on, but this is why. Because I didn't like her, and I love Sandra, I really do, but I didn't like her anybody but me, anybody but me. And I really wanted to see more gameplay. I'm all about the gameplay and the strategy and all of that. And I realized that anybody but me is a strategy. But I really think she could have played more strategically than anybody but me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only reason that I would say she was my least favorite.
It's a good way of looking at that, actually.
I know she won twice, so and I know a lot of people love her.
Yes, a lot of people
and I even had people say, well, I had people tell me, you need to play like her, you need to play like her. And it's like, I can't, because I'm not one of those kind of people that will walk around and say anybody but me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of just, because I'm bossy. I'm more of, no, this is what we need to do.
Right, well,
so
look, Nina, be prepared for people to comment on your Facebook wall going, boo. That's all they'll say.
I know.
No, please. People out there, do not boo Nina. We don't want you booing Nina, okay? Good. I'll tell you off if you do that. Final question, Nina. In the history of Survivor, who to you is the greatest ever player and why?
The greatest ever player and why?
Mm-hmm.
You mean that one or just in general?
In general. It can be a winner. It can be just somebody who you think is the best of all time.
And this is so cliche because I know everybody says this, but Boston Rob.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he played and manipulated and was able to, get everybody on his side. He was able to, he did some bad moves like with Lex and stuff, but, he knew what he needed to do to get to the end, and he did eventually get to the end, but I just think he was a master manipulator. Master. And I'm even thinking of even outside of Survivor when he did Amazing Race,
Mm-hmm.
He just has that, and he's very charming. Charming people, I think, have a little bit easier time of manipulating people because they're so charming. So I think, he's just a charming, and I think he's just a master manipulator. So I'm going to go with Boston Rob.
It works. Good answer, and I liked how you explained it. So you sold to people. I think, Nina, you won a few people back with that answer that you lost on the Sandra answer. So you lost the boos now. They're not booing anymore, so that works. Come full circle. It's what we like. Nina, I want to say thank you very much. This has been a lot of fun. Best of luck with the hiking, the book writing. As I said, please keep us up to date with how that goes, and for sure, let's do this again. We'll get you back on Survivor Oz again one time in the future.
Sounds awesome. I'm available anytime.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Nina Poersch, Survivor Worlds Apart. A lot of fun, learning a lot there, and that's what we like on these interviews. That's what we're here for, I should say, to bring you information and help you hear also from contestants that I guess go out a bit earlier and might not necessarily be in demand on interviews for other shows. We don't discriminate on Survivor Oz. We interview every contestant on Survivor. That's the aim. Be them the first boot, third boot winner, no matter what. So we have a lot of fun doing it, and we hope you enjoy listening it. Of course, if you are a Worlds Apart fan, then there are plenty of other ones for you to listen to. Tyler interview up the same time as the Nina one. We do have Dan up, Jen up, and of course Carolyn up as well, and a few more hopefully lined up in the coming weeks. Not just Worlds Apart, plenty of other seasons there to tickle your fancy, every season to be precise. If you're a Second Chance fan, Cambodia fan, you're enjoying the new season, make sure you do go through our archives of interviews with the contestants before they came back for a second time. Of course, you can also listen to their campaign interviews again if you want to hear how they campaign to get back on the show, and all other seasons, as I said, survivoroz.com. Click on the interview section. You'll be directed to there, and iTunes is your one-stop shop for everything. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Remember to rate us, leave feedback. We do appreciate the comments. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. You know the drill. That's how you stay in contact with us. We also do always read every comment we get, tweet, Facebook message, everything else in between, and we always make sure to try and at least reply. If not, we do see them as well. So thank you very much for positive and negative comments. We appreciate them all. My name is Ben, the Tribe Spoke, and I'm out of here. Thanks again to Nina. We will speak to you next time on The Trains.